Coming up on Tech News Today, why Amazon might rock at phones, Apple proves DRM still sucks, British Airways gets creepy, and I mistakenly call HTC a Korean company. They're Taiwanese. You'll hear me do that mistake next.
Nice.
Thank you.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, July 6, 2012. Tech News Today is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, go to Squarespace.com and use offer code TNT7, and they now offer free domain registration with annual plan subscriptions. And by Pond5, the world's stock media marketplace. If you're a media maker who needs stock video clips, photos, illustrations, music tracks, or sound effects, check out Pond5 for instant downloads at the best prices anywhere. Check out Pond5 at pond5.com, and for 25% off this month, use code TWIT25. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
I'm Darren Kitchen.
And I'm Jason Howell.
I'm Nicole.
Oh, we got like 20 people. We should have the audience.
The
We actually have 2 people in the audience today. Welcome to Tech News Today. We keep you up to date on the most important stories in the world of technology over the past 24 hours, and we start...
And Earth. The world of technology as well as Earth.
As well as Mars.
Yes.
Sometimes.
We talked about the rover, actually.
We were about to talk about the rover today, but we decided not to. Instead, we start with the top 10 stories of the day in the news. All Things D reports patent peace in our time. Here come the birds.
Oh, so pretty.
According to sources close to the situation, Yahoo and Facebook have called it off. They have agreed a major expansion of their ongoing partnership will end their patent dispute. This will include a joint advertising sales effort as well as cross-licensing of some key patents between the pairs. That's usual in these sort of patent situations. The deal has gotten approval from the company's boards, and in fact, Yahoo's directors agreed to it this morning in a telephonic meeting, writes Kara Swisher.
Telephonic, oh,
yeah.
Ooh, fancy. Ooh. That Apple App Store corrupted app mess is over. Apple says the problem came from Apple's Fair Play DRM system. See, DRM is so great, causes problems. MacStories.net reports that Apple has removed negative reviews from apps, has actually moved negative apps. Let me try that again. MacStories.net reports that Apple has moved negative reviews from apps affected from the bug, including Goodreader and Instapaper, from the current version section to the all versions section. So that's not going to affect their ratings.
Yesterday, news hit that Microsoft engineer Terry Zink found evidence of Android devices being used in a botnet via Yahoo Mail. Google and mobile firm Lookout don't agree and say that there could be other explanations. Now, Zink wrote in an update in his blog that said that the spam headers could have been spoofed. Lookout and Google say they haven't seen any other evidence of activity of a botnet.
Heard this one before? People with knowledge of the matter say Foxconn is working to build a new revolutionary smartphone. But they're working with Amazon on this one. That's the rumor. Most of the Bloomberg story about this today details Amazon's effort to acquire patents so they won't get sued off the shelves when they release the phone. Apple should file a rumor infringement lawsuit. That's what I think.
Cisco wants you to know that it's really, really sorry about its Connect Cloud firmware update. You know, the one that opted people into a cloud interface and looked like it could have been spying on you due to odd terms of service. Well, Cisco has issued a second apology and says it has simplified the opt-out process for users. Cisco has also reiterated that its routers are not tracking or storing personal information of its customers.
DDWRT, OpenWRT, get it going on. Also, Cisco, it's all cool. It's all cool. British Airways are going to take off some of that heat. The airline is making privacy concerned folks all upset because with its new program, it would find pictures of passengers via Google Images. Now, the idea would be that Google or that British Airways would know who you are before you come on the plane. They'd be able to approach you if you had a delay. And, you know, the company said that it's just trying to recreate the feeling of recognition. Others just kind of find it creepy.
Leave me alone, flight attendant.
Yeah. Twitter is revving its search and discovery functions today, and senior engineer Pankaj Gupta posted on Google Plus that he thinks the changes are enormous. Kidding. He
They're
posted that on
huge.
Twitter.
Oh, I can see what you did there.
But look for the enormous search changes to roll out to you soon.
New monster phone coming, folks. MK Business News reports that Samsung will bump the screen size on the Galaxy Note 2 up to 5. No?
Even
What?
It's measured diagonally, and since it's getting thinner, it's just a difference of 16 by 10 to 16 by 9. So it'll be-
5.5 inches.
Yeah, okay, that's the way you measure it
bigger.
diagonally. I don't know.
It's bigger diagonally.
I want to see the resolution go up.
The resolution's supposed to go up too and run on a quad-core processor. The device should be unveiled at IFA 2012 in Berlin, which starts on August 31st. Best part, it will run Jelly Bean. Worst part, probably not released until September, October. So if
That's
you're
too
excited, you got to wait.
Too small to stick with a Nexus 7 in your pocket. Microsoft says that it's
Are you happy to
$40.
see me?
Microsoft says that its $40 Windows 8 upgrade promotion will extend to users of Windows 8 release preview as well. What's the catch? Well, you'll have to have a previously valid license of Windows first, as in you have to have installed Windows 8 RP on top of a previous edition.
I want to say somebody take Windows 3.1 and do the 95 upgrade and the 98 upgrade. Anyway, the Wall Street Journal got a look at a prototype of a new Best Buy store that said it resembled Apple's retail strategy. Customers will be able to pay for items in several locations instead of just one big checkout line. Additionally, the store's focus is on, get this, knowledgeable salespeople and less about displaying every product the store sells.
It's a massive change.
They don't have any products anymore. Every time I look for something there, they're like, nope, not available in your store.
Maybe it's not knowledgeable.
I'm asking the website. That should be knowledgeable. Finally, there's some good news and some bad news for Korean companies. The good news, Samsung. The bad news, HTC. Samsung posted record profit and revenue for the second quarter, while HTC reported it expected profit to fall for the quarter, the third consecutive quarter of falling profits for HTC. Our profits aren't going to fall, though, because thanks to Squarespace, our sponsor for today's episode of Tech News Today. And this month, they're helping you keep some money in your pocket, too, with free domain registration if you buy one of their annual plan subscriptions. Domain registration and then mapping to your Squarespace blog completely integrated within the sign-up process. So here's what you do. You want to take best advantage of Squarespace right now. You don't have to spend a dime to start with. Go to squarespace.com. They won't ask for a credit card or anything. You just put in a little bit of information about what you want your site to be, and then try it out. You can use their Flickr modules. You can use their Twitter modules. You can import your old blog, all of that stuff. Try it out. See if you like it. Then if you do, and you're like, yeah, but I actually have been thinking about making this blog with a domain name. Yeah, it's okay, Tom. You use UnitedMoonColonies.squarespace.com. I want to be more professional than you. I want a domain name. You can sign up for a year, and you get that domain name absolutely free, integrated into the sign-up process, automatically pointed to your new site, and you get to keep it. It's yours. Even though you got it for free, that domain name stays yours. Squarespace also giving you 10% off your first purchase on new accounts. That means 10% off the first month on monthly plans, 10% off the first year on annual plans. So go check it out, squarespace.com, and use this code, TNT7. That's the code that gets you that 10% off, no matter whether you buy monthly or yearly. 10% off your first month on monthly plans, first year on annual plans. Squarespace.com. We thank them for their support of Tech News Today. All right, folks, let's dig a little deeper into the stories of the day, starting with that Amazon smartphone we mentioned. Bloomberg reporting that it's going to be built by Foxconn, and almost the rest of the entire story is talking about patents, how Amazon has been involved in 5 patent-related cases this year, 20 cases last year, and this is now the first order of business for companies.
Well, obviously. I mean, they're trying to roll out a new product. They're trying to innovate. How are you going to innovate without buying a boatload of patents first?
That seems to be the deal these days, is that the way the patent system is working, your first order of business is to build the phone. Your second order of business is to assume you missed something, and then you're going to get sued out of the gate, so you better bulk up on some patents.
And it's not even about having all of the patents. It's just having enough that your competitors are also using the technology of, so that you can come to a stalemate.
We're making Iyaz's brain smoke.
Look, okay, listen. So what the game would be that Amazon would use their version of Android, which is mired in controversy thanks to Microsoft, because Microsoft says they have patents on things.
Well, and Apple.
Apple says they have patents on particular implementations of Android, but Microsoft says we have the core of this, and you guys are ripping us off. That's why Microsoft's had so many deals with all these hardware manufacturers. And I remembered when the Fire came out, I'm like, didn't Amazon do a deal? And they did. The hardware manufacturer of the Fire has a deal with Microsoft, so they already have the licenses for those patents. So if it's based on the Fire, and we haven't seen a lot of lawsuits on the Fire and that implementation of Android, probably means they're covered, because the techniques that Amazon used to make their version of Android different enough and the licenses they have and their hardware partners, all that combined does protect them to this point. But yes, it's true because there was R&D. People patented stuff. That's the game right now. And Amazon is a big target. They make a lot of money. They know what they're doing. And if you can find a revenue stream that doesn't require you to do work, like Microsoft's phones, how they're doing, not so great. But their Android phones are doing great because they're like, hey,
they don't have to make any. They just make money off of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just one ugly game.
Well, you're the right guy to ask this because I think what we all want to do is jump to the conclusion that patents are getting in the way, that you should be able to make your phone or make your device and put it out there. And as long as you haven't egregiously ripped somebody off, that you shouldn't have to worry about this. And this is a break on innovation because we're spending time and money that could be spent on the devices and customer service and other things. We're spending that time and money on the law. And I'm saying you're the right person to ask because you're very good at saying, look, the patent system does need to exist for a very good reason, and people do need to be defended for research and development and their innovation. Do you think it's getting out of hand, or is this normal?
We were actually talking about this, the pace. That's the real issue with this, because software moves so fast, and these phones are changing. Technology moves so fast versus the way the old systems were. The thing about patents and why it's tremendously problematic to do all this research is that everything is public. That's the thing. It's not like, oh, by the way, you had no idea we were doing this. It's like, yeah, you did. We filed this. It's in the systems. You can look it up. And
but patent inspectors themselves can't find previous patents sometimes. I mean, just because it's in the system doesn't mean it's easy to find.
Wait, the USPTO not being funded properly is a whole other issue.
But it's a boatload of stuff in there. It's hard to find.
But so
that's like saying, it's on the internet. You should have been able to find it.
Oh, that's how the laws work. And have you ever looked at the Federal Register for anything that happens in the day-to-day life of the United States? I mean, there's a lot of things that are public. Right? The idea is that's notice, right? And that seems like, how is that notice? I didn't know that happened. I know that there's something happening on E and there's like a Kardashian existing, but I don't know that something has changed in tax law because it's not written on the money.
Right.
So like, there's this.
As opposed to the Kardashians.
It's the old days of
which are written on the money.
What's notice and what's not notice. And the patent system right now, if you publish it online, that's notice, and that theoretically would mean, hey, you saw what I did. You could have seen what I did. And you can't just say, oh, well, I willfully was blind to this. It's like, you can't be willfully
right now,
blind
though,
to the
like
law.
all of the big players, all of the actors in this scene are all, arming their submarines with patents. They've got their silos full of patents. At some point, there might be like a ceasefire, like a call to like disarm the patents.
Like Yahoo and Facebook today.
There you go.
That's very nice. Let's get away from patents, though. Could Amazon bundle in a service? That was the other part of an article from Ina Fried on All Things D, saying Kindle Fire came with some connection, or the Kindle came with connectivity bundled in. Now, obviously, it would be way too expensive for Amazon to put out a phone that just had free data access. But could they go to somebody like Clearwire, who's wholesaling a connection, and have their own plan, their own Amazon MVNO type thing built in? Nicole, what do you think?
I don't think that's really. I think that's definitely a good idea. And but I'm not really sure if Amazon is ready for that. Just to sell it with the data built in.
Well, they've got lots of experience of selling the plans and the phones and all that. Is that not enough?
I just feel like I think when they do sell this phone, this Kindle phone, whatever it looks like, it would probably be the same way they're selling the Nexus 7 at very little cost, right? It would be really, really inexpensive, and I think at that price point, they can probably make the case that it's already super cheap. It's already super affordable. The data plan. I mean, everyone pays that for a smartphone. It's not, it's nothing out of the ordinary.
I think there's already like over 50 MVNOs in the United States. I don't think Amazon needs to roll their own, and I feel like there's a certain amount of prestige that comes with being like a device on one of the first-party carriers. A Sprint, a T-Mobile.
And I think something to note as well, that the interesting thing about the Galaxy S3 when it first came out was that it was available everywhere, across all the carriers. You don't have to change your carrier. And I think that is a very important point for most customers.
Not the same phone.
Right. It's not the same. Well, it's one of those.
Dual core, quad core, LTE. I mean, same name.
Right. But there are a lot of people that don't want to change their carriers depending on where they live. And I think, it's maybe an option. Maybe if you like $100 more, you can get this, free data thing. Maybe, but I don't think that's really what they're going to do.
I think Amazon has shied away from doing the connectivity thing. With the first original Kindle, you had a built-in connection.
Yeah.
It was free for life. That was with a very high price tag. They want to have a low-cost device, and I don't believe they want to deal with carriers anymore, because if the Fire could have had it, I mean, the Fire could have had WhisperSync built in just for the Kindle itself, just the book reading app, but they didn't bother with that either.
Well,
I mean,
I'm sure the carriers also wouldn't want to sign a deal for something like that, because I can imagine it being much easier on one of those older Kindles that had like a 25 megahertz, I'm joking, processor, and you weren't expected. I mean, even then, the web browser was experimental, and it was on e-ink, and so, you know.
Well, the e-ink Kindle still comes bundled with a data connection. You can still get one.
Yeah,
with
you can
3G.
still get the
Okay,
data
and it's gotten
connection.
better, but on a color device with a touchscreen, it's, you know, the use case is that the person using that is going to use a lot more data than they would be on an e-ink display, just as
That's why
carriers
Clearwire
have
seems
found
to
out
be
with smartphones.
Clearwire seems to be the suspect there, because you're right. AT&T and Verizon are not going to do any kind of favorable deal for Amazon here, but Clearwire might.
and Amazon's current Kindle that has 3G locked down how much of the internet you can access. The old original versions, you could access the entire web. I don't know why you'd want to on that display, but
It was
on-
kind of a
Well, yeah, it was
natural lockdown.
kind of.
But,
yeah,
but
exactly.
now I think it was like limited to Wikipedia and WhisperSync, and they kind of limited the functionality of outside of Wi-Fi network. So it could be an interesting deal if they had their own network.
Let's follow up on yesterday's App Store update glitch that we talked about. Apple admitted there was a problem. Remember, Justin Robert Young was saying Apple needs to aggressively address this. They kind of have done what he said. They came out with a statement saying, we had a temporary issue that began yesterday with the server that generated DRM code for some apps being downloaded. It affected a small number of users. The issue has been rectified, and we don't expect it to occur again. Users who experience an issue launching an app caused by the server bug can delete the affected app and re-downloaded it. I think a small number of users is relative. If you're Instapaper, it was all of your users, and that's tens of thousands. I don't think they think that was small. But, you know, quibbles aside, Apple has fixed the problem, and it was related to DRM. So
Surprise.
this is one of those things where we haven't seen as many problems with apps and DRM as maybe we have seen with music or video in DRM, where DRM implementations cause problems. And this is a big one. It may not be as big as people were making a deal out of it yesterday, but look at the end. Do we need, I guess my question is, do we need DRM on apps? As a developer, obviously as users, we don't want it because it gets in the way, right? And even if we're not trying to break the law, if we're just like, you know what, it's easier to move things from store to store. Apple has made it very easy, and Google has made it very easy as well, to re-download apps that you've paid for with the DRM in place. Makes developers feel better. They're more willing to participate in the ecosystem because they feel like they're protected from piracy. But is it really protecting anything?
Yeah, actually, from what I understand, the DRM isn't even all that great. At least on the Google side, you'll find sites where you can get Where's versions of paid apps and stuff, and those are also the places where you really need to be concerned about getting yourself like a Trojan on your phone.
Right, because you can sideload on Android, which is what's causing that
Right.
whole controversy where the guy's saying, I think it's Yahoo, and Google's saying, well, just because it says it's from Android doesn't mean somebody didn't spoof it, and whatever. You know, that's a different matter. But I don't think you need the DRM, and I think the music business is the perfect example of this. Nielsen came out with digital music sales numbers today from SoundScan, 14% up so far this year, on pace to set a new sales record for digital music. Overall music sales, including CDs, which are going down and down and down, up 6%.
I mean, I don't know if I agree, but this I think that's an unfair comparison. The music industry is pretty mature. It's got large businesses involved. App developers at a certain point, they can just be like, it could be you or me just sitting there. And we're like, I have this great idea. I've worked hours and hours and hours. I'm going to charge 99 cents. And then you lose out on revenue because it's being
Do
pirated.
you lose out on revenue, though? You jump to that conclusion. What is the evidence that you're going to lose out on revenue
Because people
if there's
do
no
that.
DRM?
When it comes to
And
apps,
they do it anyway. That's what Darren was just
right,
saying.
they're doing it on the Play Store.
You're not actually protecting anything.
What was the, there is a, wait a second. Now, for every $1 that Apple makes in the App Store, remember, it was something like 29 cents on Google Play for the same kind of apps. So where's all that money going?
But is that because...
I don't know.
I mean,
but-
Google Play has
Well, I'm looking
DRM,
for some
so it's not the DRM that's causing
you
the
can break
difference.
those things. That's the other
You can
issue.
break it with Apple, too.
Apple makes it a little bit more difficult, and people who end up using this, I'm going to make a generalization. People who use Apple devices sometimes just kind of use them because they want to use them and not go, I'm going to hack this thing. Because it's almost like this silly like lock-in because they don't want to use this thing beyond what it does.
You know, I actually haven't even noticed really the DRM in any practical use case. I mean, I just picked up a Nexus, And as soon as I turned it on and signed in, it started downloading all of the apps that were on my note.
Right. And that's why it
and it's
hasn't
like,
been an issue up till
yeah,
now. Yeah.
And even my paid apps where it's like I paid for it once and now like I can have that app on every device. That's awesome.
You could still do that if there was no DRM, though, is my point. And I
So
think
if
if you're a developer, you're like, I don't feel safe doing that.
So as a developer, I'm not actually that interested in the DRM for. I'm more interested in like some sort of DRM-ish or encryption type technology to protect my source code and keep people from being able to uncompile my my APK file and steal my intellectual property. Then I am like, oh great, so you got my app for free, big deal.
Yeah, I would submit that if you dropped Fair Play DRM from the Apple Store today and the developers didn't freak out because they were worried about piracy, that the revenue would stay consistent, if not go up. But I have no evidence for that either.
Yeah, so we have no evidence of either one, so things won't change right now.
I will say, though, we need to go with evidence first when we're talking about restrictions and copyright law.
Well, see,
and
could
there's
you
a lack
imagine,
of
though, if like Apple did that and then other app developers were like, oh, you're taking out the DRM in your system? That's cool. I'll bake it into my own app. And then we've got like challenge and response stuff where it's like, on page 17 of the manual, enter in the third word from the 6th paragraph.
Oh, it'd be like playing SimEarth again.
That's what I'm saying.
On my Hewlett Packard, or on my Packard Bell 486DX.
Or you just have to keep the CD in the drive when you play your iOS app.
You have to keep your thumb on the... let's talk about British Airways being all creepy and looking us up on Google.
Yeah.
Just so they can come over and say, hi, Darren.
Yeah, they're getting a little bit of backlash from privacy advocates for this new service that they're proposing the program. It's dubbed Know Me, and it uses Google Images to find photos of passengers. So head of customer analysis explains over at British Airways, this guy Joe Boswell, he says, we're essentially trying to recreate the feeling of recognition you get in a favorite restaurant. Now, they aim to send over 4,500 personal recognition messages a day by the end of 2012. You know, they've got millions of customers, thousands of staff. They're just looking for technological solutions so that they can say, like, hey, Tom, we heard you like books. So here's a book. Or whatever it is you like. You know,
have a martini.
Get a little Google stalking going on. And some people aren't amused. Director of privacy group Big Brother Watch, Nick Pickles, says if British Airways wants more information about us, they can ask. British Airways responded by saying that they are compliant with UK Data Protection Act.
Well, they have this information about you already. That's what's weird about this, right? They're the airline. So they've got all kinds of stuff about you.
But they're developing a dossier with your photo now.
Well, no, what they're doing is saying, we have all this information about you, and we're going online and finding publicly available information and associating it. It's creepy. Is it wrong?
And does it really, truly remanufacture what you get when you go into a restaurant? Because when you go into a restaurant, repeatedly, you know that they know you because you actually have a relationship.
Well, but no, Jason, you've got a relationship at that restaurant with the waitress or the bartender. You don't have a relationship with British Airways stewardesses. Maybe you don't, right? But you have a relationship with a company. Yeah, no, so in this way, it's a company trying to, you know, as a kind of faceless organization, trying to have that relationship back with you. I just feel it's a bit creepy because it's not a two-way street.
That's the thing, right? It's not something I expect. It's
It's not at all. Like if somebody comes up to me on the street and a complete stranger say, "Hey, Nicole," I'm like, who are you? How do you know my name? So in British Airways, I would probably feel the same way. Who are you and how do you know my name?
So on Air Force One, they have like, you know, not a dossier, but they like the staff understands like, oh, the president likes his coffee this way. How is it any different? You're getting presidential treatment though. You know, if on file they say, oh, Tom likes a latte and he likes it with 2% milk, and then boom, you get on the plane and boom, there's your 2% milk latte.
I was just sitting here laughing through this entire conversation, not saying anything. What's going on with you?
Because here's what's going to happen, right? They can. I'm just thinking about this from my own personal experience. What's going to happen? Because this reminds me of what happens with PR people. They come up to you and they see your name on you, and then you guys, you guys have it easy. So they're like, Nicole, Tom, Darren, Jason, how's it going?
Iyaz.
Like, hi, Iyaz. Like, oh yeah, that's a recognition I want to get. You kind of can't read what I'm writing.
They would have in your dossier how to pronounce it. They have a little phonetic
button. If they had that, I would totally be cool with that. I don't have a problem with somebody going, hey, your flight's delayed. You know how often I've been in an airport with earbuds in and nobody tells me, oh, by the way, there's a delay? Like, I have to pop them out and look around. I'm like, why is there flashing? And I see a bunch of grumbling people. I'm like, oh, something went wrong. It'd be nice if somebody came up to me like, hey, or just even forget my names. How's it going? By the way, the flight's not going to be on time.
It's okay.
I don't have a problem with this.
We don't
at
need
all.
to worry about this because this is just for first-class customers.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, fine.
Screw it then.
Let's move on and start making our movie about why we never get to fly first class. Thanks to Pond 5. Pond 5 is the world's stock media marketplace. They're our other sponsor for Tech News Today. And I know a lot of you make stuff, whether it's podcasts or art or videos. Pond 5, obviously a great place to find pictures of people water skiing and riding horses for your water skiing Western. But if you're a podcaster and you want some sound effects, they've got that too. You need some high quality vector illustrations, they've got that too. Motion graphics covered. Creative assets of pretty much any kind that you would need are available on Pond 5. You're making a little science fiction something or other. You got some sound effects you need. Check them out, pond5.com. And if you're the kind of person who creates this stuff, you probably have some stuff you might want to sell, and they provide industry-leading rates and royalties for your content when you upload it to Pond 5. That means for media makers, the prices are unbeatable. So is the range and quality of the content available. If you're a media maker working with video, images, or sound, go right now. POND5.com. Check it out. They have a special offer for our audience members, too. 25% off your purchase this month when you use coupon code TWiT25. That's pond5.com. Coupon code TWiT25. And huge thanks to Pond 5 for their continued support of Tech News Today. Go check them out and let them know you heard about it on TNT. All right, Google's doing some summer cleaning. A little late for spring.
Yeah,
but
they announced it on July 3rd, and people didn't really notice, but I wanted to talk about it. So Google's out of the hardware business. It's over. I know. No, with the Mini.
they're not making their search appliance?
No, they're making their search appliances a Sphere now.
Yeah. What? They're gonna. Yeah. So the Mini was this enterprise level server that you'd get. And you could search your own web pages and whatever else you had, your internet, right? So that's gone now. That's going to be dead. But yeah, you could use.
But
the
they
Q.
replaced it with the Nexus
With
Q.
the Nexus Q. So try to rack that in your mount that in your rack.
Well, you just have to smash it.
It'll be like a ball rack, you know, for basketballs.
Oh,
in the
nice.
gym. You just put a bunch
I
of
like
Nexus
that.
Qs in there.
We should take those guys bowling.
Okay. Also gone is Chatback. Everyone depressed about Chatback being killed?
I'm so tired. What is that?
What is
everybody-
that?
That's
What
exactly
is
the
that?
reaction. It's-
I used it for my AOL Instant Messenger with my dial-up.
Well, they're
Wow.
replacing it. They're not totally
Right.
getting rid of it.
Chatback
right?
is being replaced by Meebo. Now, Chatback was this widget you could have on your webpage so you can interact with customers or whoever you wanted to talk to. But Google just bought Meebo, and they're going to go with that. Google videos.
I thought that was already dead.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Okay, uploads have been stopped for years.
Yeah.
apparently, but what Google's going to do for you for free is move your files over to YouTube. And what they're actually doing is they're making them.
Finally.
They're moving them and making them private, so they're not necessarily public right
Oh.
away. So that's kind of a nice little thing. But Google Videos and consolidation of, I mean, it took them long enough, but taking Google Videos and getting rid of it in favor of YouTube, smart move. Darren, you disagree?
Yeah, they've been pestering me about this for months. They're like, hey, all your Google videos. And I'm like, yeah, but I used to upload the same video to Google Video, to YouTube, to Rever, to all these other platforms that don't exist anymore.
Yeah, so now you're going to have duplicates.
But
Yeah.
they're at least
well.
set to private, which is cool.
Dedupe.
Okay, here's the big news here. Symbian search app is dead.
Wow.
That actually is pretty big news. A lot of people still using Symbian now.
Yeah, but you can still search. They're just not updating the
This is
app.
not the app.
That kind of sucks, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this one legitimately surprised me. I'm surprised that iGoogle will be retired November 1st, 2013. I actually still use that from time to time.
I do too.
It's a
too,
little
me
widgetized
too.
thing. I'm like, okay, I can use this.
You know what you can do, though? You can, like, file, save web page as, and then just save that HTML file
That's
locally.
true.
Ooh,
So that's what it
nice.
is.
Smart.
Yeah. That's a little hacker advice.
Wait, would the weather app ever change or not?
You know, it probably just pulls the data from the cloud anyway.
Oh, good.
Finds out where the clouds are going to be.
Well, that's it for the news, folks. Now over to Iyaz with sports.
Sports, that's right. I like talking about sports. So we're going to talk about Nike Plus training and basketball.
Woohoo!
I know I'm going to lose about 30% of the audience, if not 50% of the audience. But I'm a kind of a fitness guy. Nike introduced shoes called the Nike Plus Hyper Dunk and Lunar, and they come with this plastic puck. It's called the Sport Pack, and it fits in the shoes. Now, why I'm just like drooling
This
over
is just
this.
like the old Nike Plus, though.
No,
right?
it's not. It's got
It's
a 3-axis accelerometer. And it can track lots of different movements like the other one couldn't. It was like a pedometer. This one does. It can track when you're jumping and how high you're jumping, steps per second. It can tell when you're doing push-ups, which I'm kind of confused about. I guess accelerometers can do that. Uses Bluetooth 4.0, so it's low power. Runs 30 to 40 days on a charge. Comes out and comes with a training app. So if you want to play basketball, one of the things they show in this is how to play. Well, not how to play basketball.
So this is
but
Nike
metrics.
Plus with horizontal.
with horizontal, and in your shoe
For
instead
jumping people.
and it uses the fuel metric, and you can see how you're tracking things. So they're effectively gamifying gaming. So when you're playing
What?
basketball, right?
Wasn't it already gamified?
They're gamifying a sport. Like when I train at all, I like
So
to get, I like to get metrics. I think it's kind of neat.
I love the metrics too. I'm a big fan of the Nike Plus app on the iPhone. Although the recent update was not working for me until I realized that for some reason after the recent update you can't close the screen and or it will lose you.
Oh,
so you got to leave the screen on when you stick it in your pocket, which is kind of annoying. But otherwise, I love them.
I'm also like I guess as I'm just thinking like a kid. I'm like, wait, my shoes can do what now? Like this is a
You only
shoe
have
company.
to recharge
Must be
your
the
shoes every
Must be the
month.
shoes.
No, I think this should be in every pair of shoes, not just Nike. I mean, let's get everybody on board. Let's get everybody with their shoes with a Bluetooth low-powered device that emits a unique BSSID identifier. Let's have everybody wearing something that can be tracked with Bluetooth. That's
We have to
going
worry
to be
about
wonderful.
shoe security now.
Very excited about it. Yes! It's fantastic. You trust me, when that thing, all it's doing is like putting out a beacon every like minute. Your phone picks it up and then it just like gives you the data. I guarantee you this thing is like unencrypted how many steps you took. So not only can I stalk you and know where you've been, I can find out how long you've been walking since I last saw you. This is so
what are you going to
fantastic.
do with that information though?
Nothing. But it's I'm the good hacker of the West.
If you were British Airways stewardess, you could totally go up to Iyaz and say, hey, congratulations on your goal.
Nice.
I love it.
Have you been working out? Why, yes, you have.
I'm just gonna.
I know you have.
I'm just gonna throw my pair of Nikes in the washer or in the dryer, and then it's gonna be like, "Whoa, Darren ran a marathon."
Yes. All right, let's finish up with robots, shall we? DARPA seeking more efficient robots.
Yeah, they've issued a solicitation to industry, which is like a request for comments or something. Basically, they're looking for some help developing some really efficient actuation technology. So DARPA is explaining that, for example, a horse travels with a specific resistance of 0.01 to 0.02 compared to a specific resistance of 1 to 3 for several of the current legged robots. You've seen those like
So the
mechanical
resistance
horses.
being the ability to continue forward momentum, I guess.
Yeah, that's the idea.
A horse
Well, the biggest problem is that with the current technology, stuff that's been demonstrated to them recently, the robotics challenge, the DARPA robotics challenge, government furnished equipment, or DRCGFE. Well,
They love them some acronyms.
I know, right? They've only been projected to run untethered. These are these like mechanical dog or horse looking robot things, untethered for like 10 to 20 minutes. They're looking for an increase up to 20 times. They want to be able to have those guys run for like 400 minutes. They've got this program, the Maximum Mobility and Manipulation, or M3. It aims to develop tools to improve robotic performance, to improve fabrication and the process to control these methods. And so they're kicking off this thing in January of 2013. They're ponying up $2.5 million for the first year participants, with the second year of an additional $1 million for those that can demonstrate, some massive improvements in actuating technology. That's cool.
So DARPA has been really good at this sort of thing. And if you don't know, Defense Advanced Research Project
They did
Agency.
that thing we use.
Oh, the internet.
That
Well, it used to
one.
be called the DARPANet
Yeah.
or the ARPANET.
It's good.
But it's pretty good. They did a good job with that. And then they got Stanley, the self-driving car, off and running. And so this is cool. I want to see some running robots. I don't want them running after me, but I do want them running.
I like the current crop because you can outrun them for like 10 minutes. They run out of battery. I don't know if I can, I would need those. I want to put some Nike Plus in them, and get a little, race going on. It'd be good.
Hello, Mr. Robot. I see
That's a
you've been
good
working
training
out.
for
Welcome to
Here's
British
the thing.
Airways.
Here's the thing. Do I go jogging or running? No. But if I'm being chased by a robot, I will run.
Yeah, it's like the zombie thing,
The
except with
zombie
real
run game,
robots
yeah.
after you.
I like it.
All right,
Go
let's,
DARPA.
let's move on to the randomizer.
Randomizer.
This is a video that has taken the internet by storm today. Jeremiah McDonald recorded a tape of himself in 1992 when he was 12 years old, holding an imaginary interview with his future self. 20 years later, now he has cut it with answers from his future self. And he's a filmmaker, so he did pretty good at this. It's pretty hilarious.
Okay, so look.
I see a Star Wars figure down
Never
there.
mind that for now. What were
Can I
you?
have it?
Dude, you have that one already. It's literally the same
Oh,
one.
yes. Here it is. I got it right here.
Yeah, except Molly chewed mine, so Be more careful with it.
Sorry.
Don't apologize to me. Apologize to yourself in 20 years. I'm sorry, Jeremiah. See, I just did it for us.
Very clever, Jeremiah. I'm glad I thought of it.
That's the spirit. Now, what were you doing before you made this video?
Ah. Here we go.
Is that Roy?
Yes. Do you still draw, Roy?
No. I don't draw much anymore.
It's just
a cast of characters.
It's such a brilliant take of this thing that he made when he was 12 with no idea what was going to turn out, and he's turned it into this great conversation.
What's brilliant is I bet he forgot that he made this and then stumbled upon it, and then it's just like being spoken to by yourself in the past. It's weird. I actually had a very similar experience when I was moving out of my house, 10 years ago, and I stumbled across my my old teddy bear, and I had cut into its ear and placed a note, and I opened the note, and it says, "Hi Darren, it's Darren from the past. How are you? Do you still play Lego?" And I was just like, oh, there goes the tears. Like, ran out and bought some Lego.
I did a series of notes on a cassette from like, I don't know, from like 1986 through 95 of like notes to myself of what was happening at the time to my future self.
Yeah.
I got to go back and listen to those.
So
I
you've
got
got
to
some
find
webcam stuff, but they're all like MOV. I probably won't be able to play them in the future.
Are you going to get like a really big rabbit so you can put a Galaxy Note in the ear? Or how's that going to work? I mean, because they're going to replace that one.
I'm thinking I'm probably just going to go ahead and throw my deepest, darkest thoughts out into the ether and then just put them up GPG, AES 128. And then in the future, I'll be able to crack that in like a minute. So it's all good.
Right, actually.
The NSA will know it NSA will know it today, and I'll know it in 20 years. It's all good.
Right. So that's the cool thing about leaving notes to yourself in the future. I absolutely love this. And I know Iyaz didn't, but
nope.
It's inspiring. Everybody should go out and do this now because you'll thank yourself in 20 years.
You're never too old to leave a note to your future self, even if you're going to be dead. You just don't know.
So do it.
Because you might not be. You might be alive.
I hope Jeremiah continues this. I hope in another 20 years we see the next version.
He's 52.
You know, when he's 52.
The problem is it's a little bit more
and it still
like
won't be about
premeditated at that point, right? Though.
And it'd be like, Star Wars, you guys haven't even seen episode 12.
All right, let's move on to the calendar. Nicole, you're in the Sarah Lane seat. Do you mind doing the honors?
Sure. Starting Sunday, July 8th, come on over to the Microsoft Worldwide Partner Conference, or WPC, taking place in Toronto. It runs until Wednesday. July 9th is the end of the internet. If you are infected with DNS changer, go to dcwg.org/detect to check if you're infected.
8.8.8.8. Just putting that out there.
AT&T to launch new blocking service for stolen devices on July 10th.
Ah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, there's lots of services like Lookout that already exist, but this will be run through the carrier. Let's see what's incoming.
Incoming message.
We got a different take on carrier updates from this caller. Let's take a listen.
Yeah, this is Lawrence in Herndon, and I think the situation with cell phones and old operating systems is even worse than you're talking about. Every time I get an upgrade on my Verizon cell phone, the operating system runs worse. My phone ran smooth when I had it. Update 1, terrible. Update 3, resets all the time. Now, what do you know? Love the show.
Let me tell you, my first 486 came with Win311 for work groups. I put 95 on it. Ooh. Not as good. Not as good. I put Windows 7 on it the other day. You would not believe how long it took to boot.
But phones, I got to say, phones wear out faster with operating system updates than computers ever did.
Well,
I feel like. Maybe that's just perception.
No, it's the same old adage. Well, it used to be, what Intel giveth, Microsoft taketh away.
Sure.
Now it's, it's
a similar problem.
The upgrade cycle on the phone is way faster. Like every year you're getting a new Android or iOS update, and that didn't happen with Microsoft. You get, wait, 3 years, 4 years?
Well, plus point updates in between.
Well, yeah, but that
which slowly slow down your phone.
Yeah, see, actually, if I remember back to my LAN party days, we were still, Windows XP existed, and yet half the people are playing Counter-Strike on Windows 98, not even second edition, maybe second edition, I don't know, for the DirectX, but not installing security patches because it runs faster this way.
What's the equivalent of defragging? That was one thing you could do. Yeah. There's lots of things you could do to speed up a computer, but is it wiping the cache? Do you do
uninstalling services? It's just the same thing as it's like when your computer's coming to its last leg and you're opening MS-config and disabling all of the startup services. Yes. Same thing as uninstalling that fitness training app that runs in the background.
Yeah. I did go in and just close everything in the background. That does help. It really does. I got an email from F who says, I could tell you as someone who works for a carrier in Canada, that's why he's just called F because he doesn't want to know who he is, that the delays in Android updates are all on the OEM side. We prefer to push out new Android versions as soon as possible once we have the opportunity to test them for our operation on our network. OEMs, that's original equipment manufacturers, the folks who make the phones. OEMs are always the ones to delay the software delivery to the carrier. They need to customize the ROM by putting their UI on the new revision of the OS. You're nodding your head, Nicole.
This does not surprise me in the least because although I mean I do think the carriers have some say in it. I'm not entirely sure of this, but you know, Samsung has their own version of Android, and so does HTC, so does Sony, and they sometimes the new updates, the new Android software, you know, they need to like mess around with it so that they have their own stamp on it. And
when Apple delivers a new iOS, it's a new iOS.
Yeah, that's it.
On at most 2 or 3 phones.
Yeah.
When Google delivers a new operating system, it's Jelly Bean for the Nexus, but then it's Jelly Bean with TouchSense UI whizzy bang.
Well, that's why you I mean, if you wanted the Amazon experience, you'd get a Kindle. If you wanted the
You want a
Samsung
Google
experience, you get like a
Nexus or
a Samsung. If you want the Google experience, you get you can't get one of these anymore.
That's
right.
Sorry. Darn.
That's all right.
Google says you'll be able to next week. We'll see if they follow through on that.
Last email from Jacob Bierce. He says, hey guys, just wanted to let you know that you can make desktop applications launch when Windows 8 boots. You just put a shortcut to that application in the startup folder, and it will launch that program when the computer boots. You could even put a shortcut to the desktop, and it would presumably put you on the desktop. I think
Have we tried this?
I haven't
We should
tried
try
it.
this.
I use it to launch auto hotkey scripts to boot on boot with Windows 8, and it works flawlessly. And there's a there's a long path: system drive /user/username /app data /roaming /Microsoft Windows /Microsoft /Windows /start menu /programs /startup. So if you remember that,
it'll be in the show notes.
This is why I'm sorry, but this is why Linux went /etc/rc.local.
Well, that you could just boot into whatever you want to. You don't.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
that is not why Linux wins.
That's why it wins. It's got shorter file names.
Linux may win, but that's not why.
Yeah, I know.
Have you heard of Zareason, by the way?
No.
It's an Oakland company that makes Linux laptops that you can choose Ubuntu, you can choose Mint, you can choose Debian.
Oh, we are getting those
and
for the show.
They guarantee that all of the parts will be compatible with Linux.
Oh,
so
like
instead
the
of buying a
webcam
Dell
and
or a
the microphone?
Lenovo with Linux on it, and they're
don't
like, hey, you know, the drivers may or may not work. We don't warrant that.
Yeah.
Zareason is like, no, absolutely. We will make all your parts will work.
Dude, it's always the internal microphone. It drives me crazy.
Yeah. You
heard me, Pulse Audio.
They have all that kinds of stuff. They have optical drives if you're still into that, input outputs, microphone inputs, all of that stuff, and it all is guaranteed to work.
That's
and
awesome.
They provide customer support
Wow.
when you buy it.
ZAReason.com. That's pretty cool.
Okay, Canadian. You got a Canadian in the audience. You're just playing to the crowd. I understand.
Yeah.
Zareason. I read about it on Boing Boing. Cory Doctorow was writing them up today.
$650 for a 14-inch. Not bad.
Yeah, check them out. All right, that's it for this episode of Tech News Today. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. You can submit stories for our consideration at our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. Go in there and either let us know a story you'd like us to cover, or if you see stories already that you would like us to cover, vote them up. If you see stories in there and you're like, no, I don't want you to say anything about that, vote it down. That's the beauty of Reddit. technewstoday.reddit.com. And we don't say enough, we appreciate the moderators that are in there operating that subreddit for us. They do a great job. So tip your moderator, even if it's just your hat. Let them know that they're doing a good job in there. Don't forget also to let us know what you like in our show. Best of submissions for our best of show at the end of the year can be sent to TNT@twit.tv with the subject line best of. It's a way for us to put together a clip show and not have to do a regular show in that holiday break. But people seem to like it, so help us out. Let us know what you want to see in that show. Darren Kitchen, what's happening with the Hack 5 these
Have you
days?
ever wanted to tunnel your traffic through Vienna, then over to Vancouver, then Toronto, then to Calgary, and then back through Sydney? You
Yes.
ever wanted to do that?
I was just saying no. I've never
You could do that if you had a little proxy chain action, and we're going to show you just how to do that at hak5.org, bouncing your traffic around the world for all sorts of reasons.
You know, Tyrion Lannister used a proxy chain at the Battle of the Blackwater.
He did.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
I used a bike chain once.
Yeah. On a bike. Nicole Lee, thank you for joining us, filling in today. It's great having you along.
Thank you.
Anything before you buy related to plug or anything?
Well, speaking of Nexus products, I believe our own Jason Howell has a review of the Nexus 7 coming up on.
That'll be in the next episode.
The next
Yep.
before you buy.
The Nextest.
The Nextest. The Nexus.
All right, that's it for this show. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Twit.tv/TNT is the place to find all of our show notes and episodes and everything like that on the web, including our wiki. That's where our show notes are. You can also email us, TNT@twit.tv, as I mentioned, and give us a call, leave us a voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW. We'll be back Monday morning. Sarah Lane will be back, and Erica Ogg will join us. We'll see you then.